Hello, and welcome to my top 10 games of the year 2018. It has been a rather mixed year, with a lot of stupid things surrounding games, but there have been quite a few great games as well. With this video, I don't want to focus on the bad things, but instead showcase the games I enjoyed the most this year. This does not mean they are objectively the most well-made or best conceived games out there. This list is solely based on games that I actually played, and I'm trying to rank them on how much I enjoyed playing them. Thus, your opinion may be quite different to mine, and even in 2018, you're allowed to have your own opinion. So feel free to list your favorite games down in the comments and let me know why you like them. This being said, let's get started with a few games that made a nice comeback this year. They were not actually released this year, so I didn't want to include them in the regular list. But they got so much new content or were overhauled immensely, so I thought I'd mention the ones that I enjoyed. No Man's Sky. While being utterly boring and surrounded by broken promises, No Man's Sky was a disappointing title to say the least. But Hello Games kept working on it, and in 2018 it received a much needed and gigantic free content update. With this, the game is pretty close to what was promised. It is quite enjoyable now, and it grew to be the endless sandbox it was always supposed to be. Too bad though that Hello Games probably ruined their reputation over this project. Space Hulk Deathwing Enhanced Edition. When it released, it was buggy, poorly optimized, and did lack a good multiplayer. Nonetheless, I quite liked it back then, and now, with the release of the Enhanced Edition, it is what it initially should have been. The graphics are still very pleasing, and the feeling of being in a Space Hulk is achieved brilliantly. Now the game features a lot of customization, and the multiplayer is not barebone anymore, making this a truly fun Warhammer 40k experience. Elite Dangerous. This game keeps impressing me, and sucking me back into the gigantic world again and again. 2018 saw me buy it a second time on PlayStation to approach things differently, and the game actually got a staggering amount of extra content. With the Thargoids still being a rather new threat to the players, the implementation of a guild-like squad system, quite a few new ships, an overhauled exploration, mining and lighting system, to name just a few, Frontier really knows how to keep me busy. Okay, so now for my main list of top 10 games 2018. Number 10. Red Dead Redemption 2. I bet a lot of you watching are surprised to see how low this is on my list. And quite frankly, I wasn't too sure it would make it at all. This isn't because of a lack of polish, content or fun to be had in the game. It looks gorgeous, and the world that Rockstar created is beyond most things out there and quite amazing to discover. Red Dead is so low on my list because of two main things. Firstly, most of my sessions playing the game ended because I was annoyed or frustrated. The autosave system screwed me over too many times before I turned it off. And most of the regular gameplay is just tedious. Rockstar seems to value realism above gameplay, and it gets in the way of you just wanting to spend some time having fun. I honestly love the slower approach this game takes compared to most things out there, but you really have to invest time to enjoy Red Dead 2. My second problem is the online portion, which I don't really even want to get started on, to be honest. I truly look forward to seeing more of what Rockstar have created in this huge and beautiful world, and I really want to play more Red Dead. I just don't want to play as badly as I would have hoped to. Number 9. Ni no Kuni 2. Yeah, I was surprised myself how this game made me so happy. JRPGs are typically the thing I play the least, and yet this game brought me quite a few hours of pure video game fun. What initially caught my attention was the Studio Ghibli style visuals that they had me so intrigued that I had to try it. The gameplay is rather easy to pick up, and then the game keeps adding new stuff and mechanics to the game that you have so much to do and explore, and cities to manage, armies to build, dungeons to loot, and people to talk to, and enemies to fight. You will just quickly lose yourself in this charming and colorful world. I spent around 30 hours already, and I am far from finishing it, if I ever will. But coming back is always just great. Number 8. Fallout 76. Looking at the game objectively, it really should not be this much fun, or even be on a top 10 list. But I still like it somehow. Maybe it is just the huge world I can explore and the endless gameplay loop of find stuff, build stuff, kill stuff, and then repeat. That makes it so mindlessly enjoyable that I can just zone out. The world is nice to look at, even though close inspection will reveal the problems and the engine does show its age. But the lighting and art style make it still appealing. I don't mind a lot of the issues that most people have. I don't care for NPCs to have dialogues with, and I didn't spend too much money. Neither on the game nor on any of the microtransactions or special editions. Still, I do understand that a lot of people are disappointed, and it is a shame. It truly is. Even more so because this reveals how Bethesda seemingly don't care for quality, but only for money. We'll have to see how this will go on in the future. Until then, I got more super mutants to shoot.
Yeah, human. I got a treat for you.
Number 7. Vampire. The title alone had me curious, and then seeing that the gameplay was a mix of exploration, stamina-based third-person fighting, and some narratively focused investigational work thrown in there, count me in. Sadly, it is not as great as it could have been, but it's so very charming that I played it more than I normally would have, I think. The combination of set elements works neatly, but everything is slightly more clunky than it should be. You can tell that there is not as much money or manpower behind the title as I would love there to be. But it all blends so nicely into a tough as nails, dark and gripping game that I dearly love it. And may even finish it one day. Number 6. Tetris Effect. Yes, you heard correctly. Tetris. 2018 saw the return of this classic game, and it is as addictive as it has always been. The well-known gameplay is implemented well into this pretty trippy game. The music and visuals blend together to have a version of Tetris that most of the time is more relaxing than it has any right to be. There are numerous variations and modes how to play this game, and each stage comes with a unique sound and music, where turning stones and clearing lines are actually part of the songs themselves. The VR support is what had me buy this game initially, and it highly helps the immersion. But even without the headset, this is a true return to form of a classic that had me surprised how much fun it was. Again. Number 5. God of War. I never before did care about the God of War games. These high-octane and cinematic spectacle fighters just were not my thing. I always lost interest once the initial fascination wore off. But the look of the new game and its obvious change in gameplay had me curious, and once I played it I got sucked into this gorgeously detailed semi-open world. The way that the game combines the vicious fighting from the previous games, adds RPG elements, and rewards exploration is astounding to me, and I am impressed how much I care about the people living in it. Games like this not only make me happy to have a PlayStation, but even show that good single-player games without microtransactions, loot boxes, or any other bullshit still are well alive and kicking. In this case, quite literally. Number 4. Dark Souls Remastered. Yes, I know this is not really a game that came out in 2018. So I did hesitate a long time if I should include it. But since this is a list about the games I enjoyed the most this year, and it is a remastered version, I just had to. If it were not for all my hesitation to begin with, it would most likely be far higher in my list. It may not be the best looking game of the year, nor the most feature complete, but I love it so much, and I'm still playing it constantly, even though I beat it multiple times. At some point this year I played it on 3 platforms at once: PC, PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. Its bleak beauty, the seamless world and rewarding gameplay will not get old anytime soon. I am very wary of early access by now, and so I don't want to include unfinished games in my regular top 10 list. But there are a few games out there that look very interesting, have potential, and that I enjoyed a lot. So before we go and check the top 3 spots, I wanted to talk about 2 of those. Hunt Showdown. A lot of you will know this, I'm sure, but it being early access, not everyone pays attention to games that are still in development. This is one of the games that seem to do early access right and have great potential. Hunt's unique spin on an online shooter had me intrigued, even though I lacked the courage to jump back into it more often. While fighting off or sneaking past the various monstrosities in this beautiful game is tense enough in its own right, the real challenge lies with competing against other players that will want the bounty you have or will try to stop you from getting one. Standing your ground against an unknown number of people will get your heart pumping, and a lot of times killed. Lovecraft's Untold Stories. This game needs all the recognition it can get. The small team working on this amazing 2D pixel art roguelike game are obviously working so hard on realizing their vision of a game that is already a lot of fun. The devs so far seem to listen to and care about feedback and improve on the game constantly. Besides its setting that initially caught my attention, the roguelike mechanics, that I normally am not a big fan of, just work so well with the Cthulhu mythos. I cannot help but be amazed by how they achieve such a level of detail and such a dense atmosphere with their artful music, sound, and minimalistic visuals. Keep an eye out for this one. So now it is time to see my personal top 3 entries. Number 3. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. While the port was initially a hot mess, they quickly fixed the issue in what was a rare speed for Square Enix. And after the random crashes were resolved, that is when the game had me. I love the previous 2 games of the reboot and finished them both. As everyone knows, that's quite a rare thing for me. But the first 2 entries in the series were both suffering from too much combat and far too little exploration for my liking. This game changed that. There's quite a huge change in how much actual raiding of tombs there is and how much less focus on combat. This seems to be a problem for a lot of people, but gladly it is exactly what I wanted. So I now have a jaw-droppingly gorgeous world to explore and have to worry less about getting murdered.
You want to make a deal?
Number 2. Battlefield 5.
It didn't matter where the danger came from. The threat of death unified everyone.
This nearly did not make my list at all when EA decided to keep being idiots, and after messing up everything about the promotion of the game there was to mess up, they went and changed the game after it was released. DICE and EA always dick around with weapons and gadgets, and I'm used to this. But so drastically changing the life pool or time to kill of players that it was infuriating to play was new to me. And gladly the backlash was so immense that they went back to the original stats, and it is now, despite all the bad rep it gets, quite possibly the best Battlefield game since Battlefield 3, or maybe even ever. It remains to be seen how and when the lack of promised content and features will be dealt with, but for the time being I enjoy this so much it is even surprising to me. Number 1. Ashen. This probably surprises no one. At least no one that pays attention to my Twitch, social media, or knows me personal and gave me a chance to gush about this game. Ashen is a true Dark Souls game by spirit, and mixed the existing Souls-like mechanics with new stuff to spice it up. The art style is so stunningly minimalistic, and the world so lovingly detailed it is a joy to just wander around. This exploration is even rewarded. And when you come back from wandering about, fighting challenging enemies and fulfilling quests, the camp you set up constantly changes and makes the world just a tad more alive and less depressing. Even though Ashen wears its inspiration openly on its sleeve, the game has so many different elements woven into it that it is not a mere rip-off. The locations are varied enough to keep you pushing on, and the balance and difficulty is just on point. The only gripe I have with the game are some of the platforming sections, but that is just par for the course of a Souls game. I have utterly fallen in love with this, and am taking it quite slowly to not be done too quickly. If you ask me, Ashen is the best reason to have the Epic Games launcher installed right now. So there you have it, my favorite games of 2018. As I mentioned before, feel free to share your lists in the comments and let me know what games you were missing. I wish everyone a good start into 2019, and let's just hope it will be an even better year for gaming. Thank you for watching, bye.